Hi, good afternoon. So, when we speak of Saralta, I would like to touch upon simplicity in technology and also in terms of entry barriers. When we have to make technology simple, there are these, as I understand, it should work for the beneficiary and not the other way around. And there are these aspects of usability and mobility. I work in this field of education, and when we talk of education, there are lots of e-learning initiatives that have so far addressed the textual knowledge, classroom learning, whereas nothing much has happened in terms of vocational skills. And today it's a very important area because the bottom 50 percentile of engineering students are finding it tough to find jobs and also finding very low salaries, and the top 50 percentile of vocationally trained people are earning much better than engineers. So, with the help of IIT Mentors, we have built a platform called SkillTunes. So, when I said about making technology simple, this is from another simulator that we found before we started working on our simulators. So, when we built things very simple, such that there is no literacy requirement, and even if you are having to read, you read only those many words that require you to work in a shop floor. So far the impact has been on 600 plus students, making them cross over to the skilled category of workers from unskilled category, which typically means that from earning anywhere between 4,000 to 6,000 rupees a month, you get to earning 10,000 to 12,000 rupees a month. The other challenge is, making technology alone simple doesn't solve problems. So in the last 3 years that I've been working in this market, what I found is that there are these ecosystem challenges too. The other aspect is, even for vocational courses, we end up having entry barriers in terms of academic qualifications. For certain courses, you need to have passed 8th standard. For certain courses, you need to have passed 12th standard or 10th standard. And the other aspect is about pricing technology. Solutions from the value chain in terms of subsidizing the cost to the end consumer. But if a technology is giving somebody an opportunity to increase his income from 6,000 to 12,000, then would he be willing to pay maybe 2 months worth of salary back at some later point so that others like him can also benefit? So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Recently, Government of India had given us innovation hub to start at our campus. Our campus is about 2 hours away from Bangalore. Our mandate is to establish a hub which teaches innovation pedagogy to children. Just general thing about Agastya. Agastya works in 14 states, reaching up to 1.5 million children, 15 lakh children. This is our key learning attitudes. We promote quite a bit of innovation, and we look at filling gaps which government education cannot provide. We supplement government education model through hands-on pedagogies. This is one of our innovation. We also have an internet-enabled mobile bike. We call Lab on a Bike, where a science teacher goes into villages with the internet and the hands-on models. We conduct a lot of innovation fairs where engineering college students will go and mentor government school students to create models and methodologies and modules. Objective or mission of this innovation hub is to, as I explained, to create STEM learning through innovation process. But we have added 2 components in this. We have added innovation through art and innovation through environmental studies. We want to bring in a lot of design thinking and art thinking into this innovation process. We want to make it elegant. We want to make it aesthetically pleasing. This is a key innovation process followed, and the child has to, what we are aiming at, the child can get in at any point of time. For example, if she wants to start the innovation process through prototyping, she can do that. Or she want to just start with idea, she can do that. And she, like I said, we're going to develop and child to inquire into following skills, both process skills and domain skills in these areas. And we have a lot of exercises, and we have mapped and collected quite a bit of teaching learning processes connected to this. So we're going to touch 1,100 unique children who are part of Agastya's Young Instructor Leader program, where we have a program where children go out and teach other children. This is a curriculum plan. This is going to be totally digitized, and an innovation diary is kept throughout the year so the child can revisit her learning process. Thank you.
We are thankful for the opportunity, and we have the privilege of working with Professor Anil Gupta, Srishti, and Honeybee Network for the past 2 decades, and we have been documenting traditional knowledge and grassroots innovations and publishing the local innovations in our own language, and we publish a local newsletter also in Tamil Nadu. So among them we selected 3 innovations which have been developed by the ordinary people, grassroots people, farmers or artisans or skilled people. Actually, in the handlooms, the weaving of sarees, when the temple border, if the color and also the design is contrast to the main saree body, then there will be 2 weavers are required, 2 handloom weavers. So that was a traditional practice. Then another is a new moringa variety, a drumstick variety. It has been a person who studied up to this. He is a graduate, but he is a farmer. His name is Alagrasamy in Pallavatti village in Dindigul district. By just crossing with the traditional moringa variety, he developed a new strain. It is then after that, he is propagating through vegetative propagation through air layering method. That also he is standardized. Then lastly, I want to tell about, based on traditional knowledge, a herbal masala product, masala bolus. It contains about some 15 to 20 that locally available medicinal plants and spices and condiments. With that, we can make a product of this masala bolus. So I want to conclude that, so the government system, whether it's formal institutions or the government department, so any small innovations which is very effective and efficient, it can be scaled up with a lot of speed, but still we could not go ahead because of the reason, because there was no objective observation. It is only subjective obsession. It is prevailing in our local system. So with these words, I will just complete my presentation.
I am presenting my views as a leader of Rotary, which I was district governor in this region last year. And after polio eradication, Rotary is working hard on literacy, especially focus on villages where teachers are not there and many challenges are there for running a school with poor attendance. The age of innovation came through trying to give technology to them, especially this is a teacher-led model. Because of electricity and sites problems, we decided to take help of technology again. And we have 3 special devices. One is a typical tablet which student or teacher can carry, and it has 3-year content, so he doesn't require any books. And, we decided to approach all special schools. I have a teacher and student from Kothurut Blind School, and they will show you in very brief how they have used this technology in their academic activities.
यांनी आम्हाला जो हे डिव्हाइस दिलेलं आहे ते आम्हाला फार युजफुल आहे आमच्या मुलींसाठी, आणि त्याचं डेमॉन्स्ट्रेशन मी आता देत आहे. हे पहिलं बटन जे आहे ते ऑन ऑफचं आहे. हे नुसतं होल्ड अँड प्रेस केलं की ऑन होतं, आणि मग इथे हे जे बटन आहे हे फंक्शन रीड करतं. 4 GB मेमरी ह्याच्यामध्ये आहे, आणि आपण मायक्रो कार्ड पण घालू शकतो, आणि आपण ह्याच्यामध्ये रेडिओ आहे, आणि एक ह्याच्यामध्ये माईक रेकॉर्डिंग आहे.
प्रकरण पहिले, शाळा मूलद्रव्यांची. विद्यार्थी मित्रांनो, गेल्या वर्षी आपण रासायनिक दृष्ट्या होणारं द्रव्याचं वर्गीकरण शिकलो आहोत. द्रव्याचं वर्गीकरण 3 प्रकारांमध्ये होतं. मूलद्रव्य.
आता हे स्टॉप करायचं आणि ओके, थँक्यू.
I'm Vidisha Kalra. I'm basically from Indian Revenue Service, presently working as Joint Director in CIPS Hyderabad, Center for Innovation in Public Systems. We are basically a center set up by Government of India. It is basically a platform where we scout for, document, disseminate and also replicate, do the hand holding of the states in best practices of the public policy, public delivery system. For example, I'll just give 2 or 3 examples. For example, this EcoSan toilets, it's running successfully, few models in Lakshadweep. After we took the initiative, then Meghalaya government has entered into MOU with us. Then EcoSan toilets are there, biodigesters are there. EcoSan toilets projects are running in UP. Then we have worked very closely. We are working from the beginning with Arvind Eye Care and their Vision Center, the whole process through which this low cost, high level medical care is being given. We are doing some models with the Jharkhand and 3 or 4 more states where the pilots have been set up, using the infrastructure in the common service centers, because the infrastructure is already there, and the Arvind Eye Care and LV Prasad, they have this successful model. So this is how we are doing. Lot of work is taking place, but the main issue is how to disseminate it. Definitely the first step is to do some innovation, create something, but ultimately we want to spread it to everybody. And here, this is my personal feeling. I wish and I really pray maybe next year the organizers would be calling some of the government functionaries from science and technology, agriculture, not as speakers. Let them come here and sit. Let them know what is happening, because dissemination is very important. After replication, if we want to reach out to the people, the government is an important setup. This is what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Very good. I am Dr. Hipusal Kriselnathan, working as an assistant professor in National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. Well, I belong to a program called Energy and Environment Policy Program. So my brief comment on the Sarlata or the simplicity would be based on some simple ideas which our center has been propagating for some time, which can be taken up by various authorities. Number one, we worked on a concept of distribution of electricity network. As you know, almost 1/3 of the electricity we lose because of the T&D losses, transmission and distribution losses. It's like carrying water in a leaking bucket. By the time you reach the destination, you lose 1/3 of the water. So the distribution network, which our visiting professor, Professor D.P. Sengupta, came out with an idea that a leaf, as it distributes water, if our distribution system will have a main line and then connected branch line, and we plan it well before, then we would save a lot of electricity. The second idea, our center has recently proposed that we should advance our Indian standard time by half an hour, like moving eastward our standard time. By that way, we would be able to use a lot of daylight saving. If our institutional time and our school time remains the same, the timing of office time remains the same, then we would be waking up 30 minutes early and going to bed 30 minutes early, and that would actually save overall 0.3% of our electricity, which is very less. But if you look at the peaking time, at the evening time when people go to home and switch on their TVs and other electrical appliances, that is the peak period where a lot of our power crisis happens. So if we advance our standard time, that actually compensates for the 15% contribution to the peaking losses, for peaking requirement. The third idea is, we recently worked on a pipeline politics idea where we thought of India's some of the fossil fuel requirements being satisfied by taking pipelines from, you call it Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline, that is TAPI pipeline, or an IPI pipeline, that is India, Pakistan, and Iran, Pakistan, and India pipeline, and the MBI pipeline, which is Myanmar, Bangladesh, and India pipeline. Those pipelines have not worked because of the geopolitics and the kind of relationship we have had with our neighbors. So what we have suggested is, as an alternating deterrence strategy to war, which is conventionally proposed in the defense studies as MAD, that is mutually assured destruction, that you build up arms, I will build up arms, we won't go for fight because we will destroy each other. So instead of MAD, if we go for this energy linkage, which Europe has done with Asian countries have not done, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations, if we do that, then this becomes a mutually assured protection. A welfare of Pakistan would be interest of India, and we need to connect our South Asian region with electricity links, electricity networks, and gas pipelines. The fourth idea is, when we come to the solar technology, which actually I primarily work, I find a very strange setup. We artificially try to take to the solar technology to the remotest of area where the urbanites keep enjoying the electricity which is convenient, which is affordable, which is cheap, which is conventional form of electricity. So actually, as if it looks surprising, that as if urbanites are waiting that when the rural people will keep using the solar technology and make it cheap enough so that they can afford it. I mean, it's a reverse trend which has happened for the solar technology. And if you, there are n number of literature which says solar fails in rural area. It's not that always fails, but many a times it fails because of the last mile connectivity is not there, supply chain is not there, skill set is not there, and once things goes out of order, whether it's a battery or a panel, people don't know what to do. So the better way could have been, you know, to have the technology there in the urbanites, and starting with maybe commercial building which use diesel genset, or maybe institutional building which have the ecology to grow and nurture a technology. And to that extent, our institute NIAS had actually proposed to have a 100 kilowatt plant on its rooftop to DST, but DST went back and saying, you are trying to use our money to develop your energy. Anyway, NIAS has implemented, in fact, Dr. Aras Sonde is there with Thermax. We had implemented a 100 kilowatt plant on our own cost, and we wanted to propose a concept of sustainable technology for educational campuses. In the last week itself, we had a conference in IISc, where IISc, NIAS, and other 7 colleges across Bangalore have come together to make our educational campuses sustainable. Why we should focus on educational campuses? For 2 reasons. One is educational campuses are the leader because they are the R&D centers, so that they can actually go both by cross-sectionally or horizontally, by first showing a demonstrable model and going, you know, proposing that to the community. And second, it also can do certain number of research where the technology can grow vertically. And second reason is, in an particular institution, educational institution, there are thousands and thousands of the students come and go. So in their own sort of study career, if they experience that they are using recycled water in their campus, it's a zero waste campus, of the solid waste is getting recycled, or they get their solar energy or electricity through solar and wind and biomass kind of resources, then they would obviously carry the message, and the, you know, the effect would be sort of infinite. So to that extent, I think sustainable technology, educational campuses, you know, all across India, people are doing. I'm not saying IIT Chennai has done excellent job. Ahmedabad is also doing. IISc Bangalore is also catching up. We should have actually every biannually, we should have a, you know, ranking of institute in the basis of the sustainability assessment we have achieved. Okay, thank you very much.